Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines, coming to you from the West Coast. Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast, and we are running into our player props video for tonight on this small Thursday night slate. Not a ton of options here. One of our guys, once again, Steph Curry, is out tonight for the Dubs. A couple other guys that are out. You want to make sure you do stay on thelines.com, playpicks.com, check out who's in and out of the lineups ahead of game time, right up until tip, pretty much for all these teams. And make sure you do check out the other videos we have on the docket for you today. Make sure to like and subscribe and get those in there for you. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com and find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for these player props for tonight. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, I mean, we're projecting Steph is out. So is Vegas, because the Warriors spread has dropped from 6 to minus 2.5 right now. We don't know for sure if he's going to sit with that quad injury, and really wanted to open the show with Steph Curry props, but that's probably not in the cards. And just as a public service announcement, I mean, watch for Jordan Poole props and Andrew Wiggins props if Steph is in fact ruled out. Yep. What we do know now is that Josh Hart will be playing for the Pelicans, and this should be a pretty choppy game with a lot of boards opportunities and kind of a game that gutty guys like Hart thrive in. His points prop, once again, fluctuating around 20.5 points and rebounds. So you can get it sometimes 21.5 for better odds, sometimes 20.5 with worse odds. But the point is, he's topped this in 7 straight, in fact, averaging 27.5 points and rebounds in that 7-game span, playing 38 minutes per game. We talked about he's a per 36 monster to a degree. I mean, averaged a double-double last year over 36 minutes. This year, scoring more for an offense star Pelicans team, 14 points and 8.2 rebounds when he gets 36 minutes. His defensive rebounding rate, one of the best you will find for a guard. It is 22% over the last 3 seasons. And the Dubs, with Steph struggling and their offense struggling as a result, have actually coughed up the 5th most rebounds in their last 3 games. They're down to 14th in offensive rating and 18th in rebounding rate over their last 6 road games. So expect Hart to help his own cause here with some boards, but he can also score, and we've talked about in that separate episode on the Pelicans that they're starved for offense. Brandon Ingram is not right. The Warriors are going to do their best to get the ball out of Joe Val's hands, and that leads to a lot of more opportunities for Josh Hart to try to carry his team at home.
Yeah, no, 100%. I love talking about rebounding. I mean, it might not be a popular opinion, but like if there was a best rebounding guard of the year award, I think we'd be given votes for that, for how much we love talking about him, guys like him and Terrence Mann. But yeah, I'll follow you with Josh Hart all day on this one, especially with Brandon Ingram struggling, and especially with a lot more bricks expected in a game that doesn't have Steph Curry in it, and the Dubs have been on a little bit of an offensive decline as well. So yeah, I think a lot more rebounds, plenty of point opportunities. Love that it's about even money at minus 104 in a prop that he's averaging in 7 straight, like you said, about 7 more points and rebounds combined than what his prop is at. So love that one there. Another one I'm looking at, a few stars out for the Knicks. If you consider D Rose and Kemba Walker still stars in this league, they are for the Knicks anyway. Very important, which is why I think we both like the Celtics in this one. But there's an opportunity for Evan Fournier, whose point total is very, very low. His prop is at 11.5 points at about minus 110. If you like that, or if you like points and assists, he's not known as an assist guy, but there's really no point guard in tonight for them. Emmanuel Quickley is not exactly someone who sets other guys up. Still, neither is Quentin Grimes or Miles McBride or anybody like that. So there's no true point guard in there for them. Not saying Evan Fournier steps in and does that, but he does average a ton more stats with both of Kemba and D Rose out this season in 10 games where neither of them have played, and Fournier did. These numbers include a couple games where Tibbs basically played him about 15 minutes for whatever reason. He got 0 to 5 points maybe, but he's still averaging 17 points, 3 boards, and 2 assists on 45 and 45 splits, both shooting, from the field and from 3-point. Really good numbers there for him. He's averaging about 2.8 threes on 9 attempts in those games, looking at about 29, 30 minutes and a 24% usage rate when both those guys sit. So we talked about maybe liking Julius Randle in this moment, but Julius Randle, I think, is someone who needs a point guard a lot more than Evan Fournier does. And with Fournier's point total sitting at 11.5, I would feel really good about that when the Knicks don't really have much scoring around him or anyone who can really get their own shot besides he and Alec Burks. And you can expect Jay Randall to be getting those double teams down low or when he gets into that mid-range area. So, he's really going to be needing to pass a lot out of that a lot more than he's going to be able to score. And lastly, you look for those revenge games, or at least just in general what Fournier does against the Celtics. I say revenge because he played for them a couple seasons, or for basically half a season. But in 2 games since he left the C's, he scored 32 and 33 points, averaging 32.5 with 5.5 boards and 3 assists. His splits are incredible, shooting 53% from the field, 43% from 3. And really, even in his last 9 in general versus the C's, even when he, before he even got to the team included, 23.5 points on 48 and 45% splits from the field and from 3. So I think Fournier is a guy who's getting really undervalued here at 11.5 points, which is why I would take him over any of the other guys in the Knicks, even if he's not necessarily going to be their leading scorer. He's going to get shots, he's going to get minutes, and he does really, really well against this C's team as a really nice recent history. So yeah, I feel really good about do not Google me tonight.
Yeah, I guess the only reason his prop is so low is because that 0-point game last time out against the Pacers, and if you play for Tibbs and you miss one defensive rotation or something, you get a quick hook sometimes and you never get back in. But I think Thibodeau has to understand that the only way he's going to keep up with this Celtics team right now is riding another offensive performance from Fournier. We talked in that video how it took 32 from him and 29 from Kemba for them to even hang with the Celtics last time out. And Fournier has really been their champion in those 2 matchups to date this season. So I think he can get over double digits for sure.
Yeah.
Another guy who's going to have to carry his team is Marcus Morris for the Clippers. He had 20 plus points in 5 straight games before they were blown out in Minnesota in their last time out. That is a concern tonight for sure, with the Suns favored by 11 at home. But the last 4 trips for the Clippers to Phoenix have been decided by 10 points or fewer. They actually beat the Suns at Staples Center last month, with Mook going for 24 and 11 as a plus 24 when he was on the floor there. The Suns are still shorthanded. We're going to talk about Cam Johnson for that reason, but they have no Jay Crowder or Ayton or JaVale McGee to protect the paint there.
Yep.
And then Morris, I mean, obviously his usage rate is going to climb with Paul George out, who's going to be out about a month with an elbow. It climbs from 19 to 25% with him out. And then he's got some stark home road splits where he averages 19.5 on the road versus 12 at home. And his usage rate also climbs from about 19 to 24% when they're on the road. He's the veteran in that locker room, and it's going to be on him to really just avoid an embarrassment, I think, at Phoenix tonight, rather than necessarily predict a win. So 17.5 points, they're going to need that from him to avoid another blowout loss.
Yeah, for sure. And TBD, since there's so many big guys out for Phoenix, you would think that the Clippers would like to run a fast-paced small ball offense with Mook at the 5. But you might even see him get a little bit more run at a forward spot tonight, considering that actually now the Clippers have a little bit more beef down low than do the Suns. So I would feel good about Mook either way in those 17.5 points, especially if he's hitting a couple threes in there. I think there's no one really on the floor on the other side that can really handle him. And the skills that he's going to bring versatility wise. So love Mook either way, and then feel good about this one. And then you mentioned Cam Johnson. I do think that's where we go next in this one because of the fact that all those guys are out. No Crowder, Shamet, Ayton, JaVale. All those guys, affect Cam Johnson because he's a big guy, but he also shoots threes too, right? So he'll get those corner threes at times that Crowder would normally get. He'll get some wing threes even that Shamet would get, and then he'll get some play in the post, without Ayton and JaVale. So I really love him, especially as we said, even if the Clippers try not to go small or go small, there's no one out there that I would really feel is a good matchup for Cam Johnson, especially if he's going to be out there shooting threes. He's 6'10". You can't exactly get a hand up in his face. So, what he's done as of late to be able to get these props, which by the way, 15.5 points. The reason I like starting there is plus 100. You get even money for him to get 16 points tonight. If you like his rebounds, since he is going to be playing a lot more down low as well, 20.5 points and rebounds is the prop there. That's minus 120, probably a little bit more likely since there's going to be a bunch bunch more rebounds to go around for him tonight. But yeah, he's had double digits in 17 straight games this season, where he's averaging 15 points a game in those 17 at about 5.5 boards. And they've had plenty of other guys in the lineup in their last 17, right? So he's just only going to get a few, probably more. You'll see his minutes go up. They've still been at about 30 minutes a game, which has risen up above 30, about 32 minutes in his last 5 or so, when he gets that many minutes. Yeah, so he's been demanding minutes from Monty Williams. You really can't keep him out of the lineup at this point. Lastly, for me, what he does against the Clippers in his last game, he had over 34 minutes in that one with 17 points and 6 boards. All these numbers get you over his props when he's this necessary and playing the Clippers like they are tonight. Clips giving up the 3rd most rebounds per game over their last 5. No Paul George, and really struggling in general. So yeah, I think you have a lot of opportunity for Cam Johnson here tonight, with both players on his team out and obviously a ton of guys out for the important guys for the Clips as well.
Like Kobe White said on draft night 2 years ago, that's my guy.
That's
Cam
right.
Johnson has been super efficient. Really one of the most efficient guys off the bench you will find in the NBA recently. And he's at plus 15,000 to win the 6th Man of the Year award. I guess it's a long shot at this point, but honestly, if he keeps it up with double digits in 17 straight games for a team that could finish first in the West, that's definitely a possibility. And I mean, particularly like this matchup, because like we said with the Morris prop, the Clippers love to go small. They love to muck it up, and they're going to miss a ton of shots. And that's going to lead to some boards for Cam. Yeah. Even though they don't give up a high percentage from 3, they gave up a ton of 3-point attempts recently, and Cam's shooting nearly 50% from 3. So I think he will get a high percentage regardless of who he's facing. So like him there for the Suns, maybe even a little bit more than Morris, since the Suns could blow him out here, and that would still lead to good minutes for Cam.
That's a good point. Yeah, either way, Cam's getting minutes tonight. I think that's why we like that. You look for a guy who you think will play in any scenario tonight, and he's going to get some starter minutes and he's going to get some bench minutes for sure, because that's where he normally comes. So love that plus 15,000. You heard it here first on January the 6th about Cam Johnson 6th Man of the Year award. That's some juicy odds. That is all the time we have for you. And this one, we're going to look to get a little bit hotter than we were last night, but keep the good times rolling on these player props. 8-5 so far this week and in 2022. Still up about 2.5 units. So we'll look to get a bit higher tonight. Until we see you next, happy betting.